Hey guys, welcome back to the Podtail podcast. My name is Edmond Orenge. I'm the host and I'm also the founder of this amazing podcast. We are located here in Eldoret and also we are recording here at Elipix Production Studios here at Metro Towers at 7th floor. You are welcomed here anytime to take pictures and also record your podcast, anything you want to do here. You're welcome. So before we start, I'll introduce my guests. They'll introduce themselves, before we start. I'll start on my right.
Yes. Hi, my name is Cecilia. In the previous episode, there's a lady who introduced herself as the daughter of the soil. And I really like that, so I'm going to take that also. My name is Cecilia. I am a daughter of the soil. I am of South Sudanese descent, but I've lived in Kenya most of my life. I am an activist by profession. So that means I work with an anti-FGM organization. So we help ladies heal from that traumatic event and also speak up against it to end FGM.
Nice.
Hi guys, my name is Charlene Chepto and I am an entrepreneur. I am the founder of Alpha Brands. We are located here in Eldoret. I also work with a non-governmental organization. We deal with community service. We are located in Kilio Valley at Sego Safari Lodge. Yeah.
Welcome. You guys are top. And you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So let's get into the topic. We're going to talk about religion as a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question I'll ask, what is religion? Like, how can we define religion as a philosophy?
How can we define it?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question. Well, philosophy by definition is a discipline which at its core is centered on logic, aesthetic, morality. So that's what philosophy is. And when you think about religion encompasses those things in its core. So when we say religion as a philosophy, we're trying to pick apart if religion upholds these things that we say is philosophical. Yes.
Nice.
What do you say after that?
We have defined the terms.
So you agree? You agree
I agree with that.
of what she has said.
Yeah.
And what's the relationship between Christianity and colonialism?
Or religion.
I feel like you've jumped. Could we go
a step back?
Yeah, a step back
Mm-hmm.
to what do we think of maybe Christianity as a religion first?
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not a Christian, so maybe you could ask that.
Okay.
That question.
Again, back to me. So I think when I was thinking about philosophy and Christianity, one of the things that philosophers all throughout time have always grappled with is the meaning of this life, our origin story, our destiny, like where we'll end up, and also morality. And I think when we think of how to answer those questions, because philosophers are machine could answer that question all throughout life. They could answer one of the four, like for example, what are we here for? But they could never answer why are we here, right?
True.
But I feel like religion offers those answers, and different religions offer different answers. But as a Christian, I feel like the answers in the Bible give the most coherent for me for all the four questions. Yes. So that's why I think Christianity fits very well under that philosophy. Or philosophy fits whichever one. Whichever is bigger.
Yeah. So personally, like I said, I'm not a Christian. I was born Seventh-day Adventist, or born into a Seventh-day Adventist family. Second, I'd be the third generation Seventh-day Adventist. And when I got to my teenage years, I got out of SDAism and got into, I went into a Sunday church, Nairobi Chapel. And then after that, I got out of there also because Christianity was not quenching my spirituality. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started having a problem with religion and the entire concept of religion. Mm-hmm. Yes. So as a philosophy, Christianity, I feel like it is like you said, it wants to fill all the gaps. And I feel like you cannot use one aspect of life like religion to fill all the voids inside you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, Christianity speaks of Jesus being the way, the life, the what. You finding fulfillment in your religion and all that. And I don't think it's possible, because you can find fulfillment in your work, parenting, your relationships with your friends. And now that I left Christianity, I started leaning towards scientific spirituality. Yeah. So most of my arguments today will be based off of that. Yes.
Okay, that's new. I've never heard on that.
Yeah, I have. That's so interesting, because I'm literally your opposite. I was not in a generation of Christians. I actually found Christianity through my own journeys of life and trying to find questions about worth and meaning at the same place. So I ended up here.
Nice. So now, in a certain point now, and I can ask about colonialism and Christianity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How can we define that? Before I ask the next question, how can we define colonialism and Christianity?
How can we define it?
Yeah.
So I think the relationship between, first of all, disclaimer, before everybody comes to my head and everybody's trying to find my social media to insult me, I agree with every single person in this continent that whatever the colonialists did to us as Africans was absolute horror, right? So that any answer I am giving after this is in agreement. I'm not saying that, it's a big deal. Actually, then Kimathi alikuwa cheesy. Like, no, that's not where I'm heading with this. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I will say, from my study of colonialism and oppression structures, at the root of every oppressional structure is usually a sense of supremacy. So in our case was racial supremacy, where the white people feel like they were greater than us because of their skin color. And then combined with violence, that is how oppression happens, right? And different oppressions have different looks, but there always is a sense of supremacy. For example, right now in our country, we have a form of oppression, and the form of oppression is coming from people holding power over us, and therefore using violence also by shooting us in the streets. So that's the oppressional system.
Yeah.
So where does Christianity play into colonialism and colonization? I think Christianity was used to ease in colonization, right? When the missionaries came, they came with the word of God. And I think our forefathers agreed with them to an extent, because I think the moral law is something that cuts across all humanity. I don't think there's a human being who thinks it's okay to steal somebody else's wife. I don't think there's a human being who just sits and says, you know what? I don't think kindness is cool anymore, right? So I think human beings have always upholded a sense of morality. And so when the white people came with Christianity, in the 1900s, it fits easier with our forefathers, because it's something that they're like, so bad, like what they're saying is not so bad.
Yeah.
But then, like the way Kwame Nkrumah said, that the white people, the missionaries came with the Bible, and they told us, think scriptures like, store up your treasures in heaven, while stealing our land. And it was used abusively to numb people's senses and to make it seem like it's a higher calling to not fight back, or it's a higher calling to be passive, or it's a higher calling to act in certain ways, when the Bible itself does not agree with them. So that's what I think. That is the relationship between Christianity and colonialism. That the missionaries came to pacify colonialism, and then colonialism now took over. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I like the eloquence. It's refreshing. I would also like to disagree on 2 points. Personally, what I think of colonization was, it wasn't racially biased. I feel like that was a smoking mirror for us, telling us that white people felt superior and that's why they came here. I feel like it wasn't the case. Now that I've grown up and understood a couple of more things, what I think is colonization was capitalistic. It was more of an economic thing, They wanted our resources, they wanted our land, they wanted to get it, And the thing about Africa at that time, we had the richest man in the world. We had Massa Musa from Mali. Yes, the richest. We were rich. We had systems that were working. So they just had to look at it from a point of how can we break these people. So you'll understand that there are letters that were sent to explorers, and them sending letters back to the kings and telling them, yeah, these people, they believe in this, and they believe in this, and they believe in this, and they would, they would correspond,
Yeah.
And that's when they found out our spirituality was our backbone.
Yeah, and also allow me to cut you short. They also attacked the man. If you want to kill a family, attack the man.
Yes.
Yeah.
They degraded our men and they took our spirituality away from us. And let's go into science. Africa is the cradle of mankind. We had the original math. We had the original geometry. We had the original words. We were leading. We were the superpower of this country. So it was a political attack. It was an economical attack. And the way to break us was to take our spirituality from us. But then, so I came up with this theory personally, the good cop, bad cop theory. So the enslavers, they came in with the guns blazing, taking everything, like the monsters now. And then these other missionaries came in like the good guys. It's like, you guys, we understand what you guys are going through, but you know what? There's somebody who also understands, and this guy is called Jesus, and this guy, he'll understand your problems. And the second thing I wanted to disagree with you is our ancestors did not submit to the religion, to Christianity. We fought back, but do you know how many people were massacred for trying to maintain, what is it called, rituals that were Africans, the propaganda of our rituals are witchcraft and all these things, And when they broke us from our spirituality, they cut our roots. Up to today, as Africans, we are a confused lot. We are just confused. We don't know if we're American or we're British. We don't know if we like chips or fries. We don't know if it's kitenge or ankara. We don't know if it's jeans or denim. Unajua, anything that pulls us, we'll go with it because we are not rooted. And that was the whole point of colonization, so that it can keep going. And we're still being colonized up to today. Yeah. And Christianity was just a cushion. Because if you look at Western countries, right now they really don't care for Christianity. You will see countries like Switzerland, Norway, Denmark turning their churches into libraries, gyms. No one is going. In America, a church cathedral that's supposed to hold 1,000 people is holding 65 people. You see, even them, I think they were like, yeah, we don't believe in this anymore. Okay, so and if you look at the genesis of Christianity through the Roman Empire, British, Baka in Africa, and how it spread its roots. Christianity the marketing was colonization. Christianity got to India through colonization, got to all over Africa through colonization. So it wasn't spread through goodwill. So that's when I started asking myself, when I'm taking in this word of God, am I doing it out of generational trauma because my great-grandmother was whipped into submission? Or is it out of free will? And as a child of colonization, do I even have free will?
Good.
So I also have
Counterattack.
disagreements of my own. I think one of my biggest disagreements is that the time Christianity stepped into Africa was through colonialists. And I think that is a colonial mindset as well, because it's the colonizers who told us they brought us religion, which is also a colonial lie, because they did so many things to lie to us about our history. And one of my studies, again, is church history, because like you said, from the Roman times and all this, that's why the spread of Christianity, I have studied a lot of church history. And in church history, we have a very famous person, my personal favorite. His name is Augustine of Hippo. Augustine of Hippo lived in, I think, 300 AD, and he is known as the father of Reformation. His works influenced a lot of doctrine. He gave wording to doctrine that people hadn't thought of before. And you'd ask me, why are you mentioning Augustine of Hippo? Augustine was African. He lived in Africa all of his life. He wrote his works in Africa, like you said, the way you said that we were ahead in terms of our language, in terms of our wording. He did that. And as a ripple effect, we see that Augustine even became a bishop. If you're a bishop, can you imagine the congregation that he had? And this was way prior to the colonizers coming. And then, because I'm a Christian, of course, I'll bring biblical references. The Bible also references so many Africans in biblical times, in the New Testament. I could give examples. An example is when the church was being, started by the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost. We see Africans from Cyrene. Cyrene is in present-day Libya. That means Africans were already interacting with Christianity long before the colonizers came. We also have in Acts 13, we see that there's this church in Antioch, which is again in Greece, and we hear of Simon the Niger. And we're like, who could this person be? Yeah. An African. We also hear of another biblical account is when Christ was carrying the cross, we are told of somebody called Simon of Cyrene who helped him carry the cross. Again, where is Cyrene? An African. So we see, it's in Africa, So we see throughout the inception of Christianity, Africans were not excluded from the church. In fact, the farthest people from Christianity was the West. They were much farther from the inception of the gospel compared to Africans. So again, to go back to that story, Africans don't receive Christianity is quite false, because we see churches were orchestrated in, like Augustine of Hippo, that churches existed prior to colonialists. So missionaries, they did come. Mm-hmm. They did come much, much later in history. They did come much, much later, but it's not them who brought Christianity to Africa.
Can I also
counter?
It's gonna be a long convo.
So yeah, I agree with that point. But because I agree with that point because the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. The fragments of the Bible that are in Ethiopia, actually the original Bible.
I forgot about the Ethiopian eunuch. The Ethiopian eunuch.
So I don't refuse that Christianity had already interacted with Africans before colonization. Mm-hmm. That I do not refuse. But you have to understand that the Christianity mm-hmm. is the colonizers' Christianity, because let me give you an example of the Anglican Church of Kenya. Mm-hmm. The Anglican Church of Kenya is an offshoot of the English Church, the England Church, the Church of England, that is headed by the Queen. So the Queen died?
Yes.
It's headed by the King right
Charles.
now. Charles, yes. So the English Church, it started because King James, the one that wrote the Bible, the King James Version Bible, wanted to divorce Queen Mary, mm-hmm. but in the Catholic Church, divorce is not permissible. Yeah. So this guy decided, let me write my own version of the Bible, then I will
include that.
And I'll start my own church, and now this bishop here will grant me the divorce through my Bible.
It's like a constitution.
Yes.
There's a King James Bible permit.
No, it does not permit. He wrote his own version. It's called the King James Version. Yes. It does not. Okay. The scripture is almost similar, and also the King James Version is what is it called? It's one of the most original Bible versions. Yeah, the Bible translations. It's one of the best. But this guy, you understand what I'm saying? It was a selfish move. Yeah. He wanted to do something for himself, and the original church could not offer him, so he got it through mm-hmm. malicious ways mm-hmm. and creating his own church. And that church is what was brought to us now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not the same as what the original Christianity was, mm-hmm. and that's where my problem comes in. Actually, with colonization, but I still go back to my point where, as Africans, we were supposed to practice our own religion. Currently, I was added to a group a WhatsApp group. It's called Assisianism, Assisian religion. It's a Kalenjin platform where we discuss Kalenjin religion, not religion but spirituality. And that's where I got the phrase of spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality. So what I'm trying to say is, as an Africanist, it is kinda what is it called? Paradoxical or what? Following this current Christianity. You understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I think
That's kidogo tu. That brings me to a point where I need our audience to understand also, like to wajue the difference between Christianity and spirituality.
okay.
or religion
Okay.
versus
Spirituality.
Yeah.
I think when people say things like, I am spiritual, not religious, you've heard of such statements. Thank you. One person who's heard of that statement.
I've never heard, but I've
We were
heard.
having this conversation before you came. We were having this conversation about that statement here. I am spiritual and not religious. And nobody in the room had heard of that statement.
I am spiritual and not religious.
Okay, then I'm about to make a very forward statement. When people say things like that, I feel like it's just because people have given religion a very bad reputation. This is what I mean. In spirituality, it pushes for an active relationship between the person and God, right? It pushes for that. But I think religion equips that by teaching you about dedication, discipline, fellowship with other people, so that you're not alone in this walk. Like the way you said you join a group. Those are things that religion enforces you. Religion helps you live out the things that you believe, okay? Because as human beings, we know we cannot believe something and it doesn't show on the outside. And when you show it on the outside, that in principle is religiosity, right? So there cannot be spirituality without religion, okay?
Yeah.
So when we say things like, I believe in a creator, and this creator created me, and this creator knew I wouldn't follow him because I can't see him, right? And therefore he created scriptures. He gave me scriptures. He gave me a way, all of these things. It will show in how I live my life. And how I live my life is what is now defined as religion. So I think that's the difference.
You have anything to add?
Yeah, I would like to rebuttal it, but I feel like I would really have to go deep into my spiritual belief or my.
You can define in your own perspective.
Okay, like I said earlier, I am more of a scientific spiritualist or a spiritual scientist. I don't know how to put it. I'm still learning myself. So my current belief in terms of the creator and religion has to stem from your connection with the supernatural, or what we would like to define as the supernatural. And personally, I think I am slowly becoming a contrarian to literally everything that I am taking in, because one thing that I have discovered about the life that we're living ourselves as descendants of colonialism is we are fed a lot of lies. And there's a shadow, I don't know if to call it a shadow world, of people who are just sticking propaganda down our necks so that they can push their own selfish agendas, like the King James, So people are shifting entire generational beliefs so that because of a small decision that they have to make for themselves.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So that in itself made me quite the contrarian. I don't believe in a lot of things. I don't believe in vaccines. I don't believe in capitalism.
Did you take the vaccine?
No, I did not. I do not believe in capitalism. I do not believe in a lot of modern day structures. If it were up to me, we would revert back to hunter-gatherer stage. Like, no houses, no cars, but I know we can't do that. And that's because I came to realize, in terms of now spirituality, there's something I came to realize. There's something called the flower of life. Okay, I feel like this is a tangent. Jenny, I will go so far out.
Don't take us too far.
So I don't know
We'll
how
never
to
come
answer
back.
that. Yeah, we may never come back. So I don't know how to answer that question, but
In a shortest,
I have
like
a
in a
question.
shorted.
I have a question for you. You talk about scientific spirituality, and I wonder how that pans out, because what we know of science is science observes the physical, and spirituality deals with the metaphysical.
Yes.
So science can only go to a particular point before it is out of its bounds, where now it goes into faith. So how are you describe scientific spirituality?
I've referenced the flower of life. The flower of life is basically a symbol that says everything in this world is interconnected in a circle, like we're in a time loop of a circle, okay? So how does science connect with spirituality? You say that it's an observation of the scene, and that's why I was saying science is spirituality seen, okay? Is seen spirituality. So, for example, science explains to us how the sun rises and it sets, right? But now, if you talk about now the energy that the sun gives us, that is more of a spiritual thing. You understand? The way it can give us life through its energy. And then there's also like scientific breakdown or backing for that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you move to the unseen now, it's the spiritual of it. So when you talk about the origin of man, in the Bible there's a creation story, right? So the creation story is God created Adam and Eve, and he was with the angels and they. So as a spiritual scientist, I don't know my word.
It's okay, we're gonna call it that.
What I believe is what we perceive, and also I get my backing from the Bible. So for me, I do not look at the Bible as a spiritual book per se, but as a historical book that tells us of what was before us. So the story of the origin of man, there's a similar story in what we call Sumerian texts. I don't know if you've heard about them. These are texts that were discovered a long time ago, like before what we know as prehistoric man. It's like there's the timeline of history. And then the funny thing about the Sumerian text is they come from way beyond our intelligent man. You understand what I'm saying? Modern man.
Yeah.
Yes. So the texts, they have a similar story to the creation story. They talk about a superior form of the human being sitting down in a baraza and talking about creating mankind. So what they say is the difference where it comes in the Bible is in the Bible they say, what does God say when creating man?
Let us make man in our own image.
And theirs say, let us make this man to bear our yoke. You understand? So he is made in their image, but to bear their burdens. So their weaknesses.
God has weakness.
Yes.
Okay.
Their weaknesses, to bear their weaknesses. So from this story that I'm giving you, so what I believe is we have a superior human race. What currently we are calling aliens, there's a superior human race that created us. Okay? You understand what I'm saying?
We are with you. We are following.
Very intently.
That created the human race. And the creation of the human race sparked the end of their. So we are in a continuous loop. Every time they say, let's create man, we start from the beginning again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's what we call perfect symmetry. Now the flower of life is perfect symmetry because these timelines overlap all the time. And we start from, so in science, the universe started from a small spark like this. There was darkness and then there was a spark and the light created not human life, but this earth. So that spark is the conjoinments of the circles. I wish I had a diagram. It's where the circles
we need a whiteboard now.
It's where the circles touch each other.
Okay.
So from that, I believe that there's good and evil. And even in the Bible, there's representations of good and evil. Lucifer versus Angel Gabriel. And the story of Lucifer being sent down because he had a problem with God. And the story of is it Enoch who was taken through the 7 levels of heaven and all that?
That's not in the Bible.
That's not in the Bible.
That's
in the book of Enoch.
Yes.
sorry. But there are people who've been taken up through
Yes.
the chariots.
Yes.
And they've seen the people who've had visions like John the Revelator. Yes, about other beings and other worlds and other realms.
Spiritual realms.
So that's what I feel. What our human mind perceives as the spiritual realm is just another timeline. You go from one dimension to the next dimension.
But that cannot be scientifically proven.
That cannot be scientifically proven.
Yes.
And spirituality can't be scientifically proven.
That's why it's
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the loop now. That's where the loop touches. That's where the science touches the
I have a question about the loop. So science tells us that the earth that we're currently living is slowly dying, or they say it loses its energy.
It's slowly,
It's deteriorating as we know it.
Yeah.
That doesn't follow with being in a loop, because what we know of Earth is its splendor is continuously reducing. So how do you fit that scientific fact to scientific spirituality, where it says we're consistently in a loop?
So with the consistency is what has life has. It's the balance. What has life has death.
Okay.
So if the earth is dying, it's part of the process of the
growth.
It's the growth. You're going in a loop. So it will die and start over again and die.
Eventually start over again.
It's like a generation.
Yes.
That's not scientific.
And
It's scientific.
no. It's now
The earth coming to life again.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's not the science. That's the
spiritual science.
That's the spiritual science.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the multiverse. It's not been what is it called? Scientifically proven.
Yeah.
But it's a theory.
Yeah.
Most of what religion is just theories.
philosophies.
Theories.
There is logical coherence. That this is where it starts, it goes into this way. With theories, it could be this one, or it could be this one, or it could be this other one. There are 50 others possibilities. Do you understand? I think to me,
let me bring you guys back.
Yes.
As Africans, we've said like religion is our co-part, like it's like our partner. Let's come to Kenya now. Why is religion so important to us? As ukiona, there are so many churches here in Kenya. There are so like this maandamano that ended. We were asking the church to speak, like to hear their announcements on how they take their maandamanos. Like why is religion important? Even the president, he has a section where he has kept religious leaders to do whatever they do. So why is religion so important to us as Kenyans and also as Africans? Start with you.
Okay. Like I said in the beginning, because Christianity is a philosophy, I'm scared to use those terms because it could lead down a very dangerous. Changanyikiwa. But I started by saying, with philosophies have to answer the 4 questions about origin, about meaning, about destiny, and about morality, right? And people are constantly grappling with that. The whole question of identity, the whole question of why am I here, the whole question of, as Africans, what is our lot, what is our portion? All of that is philosophical questions that people desperately need answers for, because it gives purpose, it gives identity, it gives a way for life to move forward, and it gives hope. Because if it's bleak huko mbele, if there's no light at the end of the tunnel, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
So we cut this story short, brother. You're wasting my time. All this work I'm doing for what? So it answers a question that at the deep core of humanity, everyone grapples with. So with Christianity, I can speak for myself. With Christianity, one of my biggest issues, and we had talked about this privately, one of the deepest questions that I was struggling with was the problem of suffering, especially women's suffering. I have always been an advocate for women and oppression towards women. And so that was something that I was struggling with a lot. So I was like, can we make sense of this? Can we do something about it, right? And I think with Christianity, and I can speak not just for myself, but anyone who subscribes to or calls themselves a Christian, it has answered that question for us. It has calmed the raging storm of those questions inside of us. That's why people hold dearly to it. Not only does it answer the question of where do we come from and what are we doing here, but also it gives hope for eternity. That things are not all bleak. That we know that we will lose people, but we will see them again. There is nothing that could bring life to an individual than hope. And so I think Christianity offers the most vital thing for humanity, which is hope and purpose and meaning.
Nice. That's refreshing.
Repeat the question.
Why is religion so important to us Africans?
As Africans.
Yeah.
I feel like what I understand is, as human beings, we have different quotients. We have our intellectual quotient, we have our spiritual quotient, sexual, physical. So spirituality is a basic need, like food. Is quenched by, like the physical is quenched by food. So in terms of the church or
religion,
I understand the question, because Christianity, I don't know, it's like we're using Christianity as an umbrella term for religion or synonymous to religion. Yeah, and I feel like
I think because I am a Christian,
when
I speak of religion, I speak of Christianity. But you're free to speak of all other.
Yeah.
So it's important because it's what connects us to the next. Okay, that's how I call it. It's what connects us to the next. And in terms of hope and all that, religion might give us that. I don't know if spirituality is a form of endearment, or like we use it for endearment. I really don't think so, because the way I look at spirituality, it's like a force that I use to deal with what is not tangible. You know, it's a force for mental health. It's a force for maybe what is it called? When you're going for luck or something of that sort. Like prayer is you talking to God for the future, or the anxieties that we have. So it's true. You had talked about the country and why we needed the church to speak up, or religious leaders to speak up. And I think it's because they've taken in other steps of, that's something I wanted to talk about. As a democratic state, we were supposed to separate church and state, religion and
true.
But the way our country has been structured, before any political event or national event, the church has to come and pray over the event, the Muslim leaders have to. So I think it was only befitting during that moment of civil unrest within the country that the church also has to pick a side, So for the people to understand, like, what does my church say? What does my spiritual leader have to say about this? Because on good days, you guys have something to say. Yeah. So I feel like basically that, in terms of that, that's what people needed. But for us as Africans, religion and spirituality is very important for us, because I feel like it links us now to our roots, to our ancestors. Our roots were broken through colonization, and from what I've studied through associationism, is that we used to pray to our ancestors. So we believed in the circle of life as Kalenjians, and we believed in reincarnation. So people used to pray to their ancestors. You'd pray in the name of your ancestors. You'd pray to the force Assis, not the sun. That's like modern day meaning. We prayed to a force, the energy that came from the sun. Because we believed the sun, if it could rise us up in the morning, it had so much energy. So people prayed in the name of their ancestors. But now that root has been broken. We have lack of identity, and I feel like I said, our spiritual quotient now is not filled with the right nutrients. Where it's like we're eating American fast food by having Christianity, having Islam, having whatever.
Hinduism.
Yeah. So that's why I feel spirituality is very important. And if you could go back, and I've seen a lot of young people are going back to a Gikuyu religion and a Sisian religion and the Luya religion and all that.
I think my question would be, so how can they authenticate that is what the Gikuyu believed, or that is what the Kalenjin believed? Because as we know that after colonialism, after independence, it died down very quickly. So unless you have actual people who lived in that time to practically broken telephone for us, then we cannot fully authenticate that's what they believe. So how
the thing I can say about that is a Gikuyu, anyone, a Kamba, they have cultures. So us living through our cultures, it breaks down for us. This is what we believe, this is what we did. So I think us having cultures, it's important. Because before we have cultures, we have now religion.
Yeah.
Now you have like two things to guide you as a person. I'm from the Gikuyu. What did I believe?
Yes.
And now there's this thing that comes that come out intermarriage. It came because you are learning from another culture. Me and I'm learning from your culture. You see, that's how people mixed, and there's all these things.
So let me answer your question. Yes. Like in Assisianism, we are learning through now the language. Okay. So the words that are being used, like there's something that is called, I don't know, Kipkoros. Now that is the altar where people go and worship, and then there are certain chants and certain songs that are sung when you're there. So the words are broken down, what they mean. So that's how it's a whole thing, by the way. People are breaking down songs that were sung when boys are going to certain things, what the songs that are sung when, the words that are spoken of a married couple, what do those words mean, what does this mean, and that's how people are picking themselves back together.
From the language.
Nice. So in a greater picture, what does religion have to offer as Africans?
I think we've just answered that.
You've answered that?
By saying we need it because it's part of
That was why it is important. Like in a greater picture, how can we see that?
I think we still answered in that sense that it offers us things like hope, offers us things like direction. The way she says, it offers us like a form of identity to go back to what was stripped from Africans, like learning your language. Most of people don't know their language, learning your native tongue, things like that. Yeah. So belief in God or a higher being, or I don't know what superior race or a superior race. I was about to say aliens. Anyone say aliens?
No, what I believe in is a cycle of life. Like life, when the Bible says that God is omnipresent, omniscient, and all that, and then the Bible also says you are created in the image of God, and God says, "I am who I am." Right. So even us, we were created in the image of God. So we are like God, and we live forever. And that's why I believe in reincarnation. We live forever. It's a cycle. You die, in the minute you die like this, you live. You understand? You live again in another form. Not kama reincarnation ya panya.
So that's what you know as reincarnation.
Yeah, people.
What do you mean?
People believe like reincarnation, you come back as a rat, as a snake. No. According to the Kalenjin now, and I'm sorry, maybe my thoughts are all over the place. It's because my information is also collected from everywhere. Because I also believe we are one unit. The beginning of the earth was the beginning of a spark. So we are one unit. Everything is connected. Every religion is connected. Every race is connected. We came from one. So that's why I'm saying the earth also, it does not like die. Like let's say the way we are saying it shrinks and all that. It does not die. I don't believe the earth dies. I believe what is in the earth dies. Like with the flood of Noah. The flood of Noah has been proven scientifically. It actually happened. Yeah. So I believe that what is in the earth, it's like it resets, and then we start again, all over again. So everything starts all over again. So in terms of like Christianity giving me hope for another life, reincarnation gives me that hope that you die, the minute you die, the minute death happens, life happens. The minute good happens, bad happens. The balance needs to be there. Now this is a Buddhist belief that in every good there's evil, in every evil there's good. And that's why as human beings we can never attain perfection because everything is inside us. That's why you will feel like, I'm hungry, I steal instead of maybe pride will show you uliomba jana, uliomba leo, umeomba, so let me just steal and protect my pride, and because evil lives within us, goodness lives within us.
Yeah, that's nice. So I think on our last question, we can ask ourselves that without this now Christianity or religion, how will our world look like, or how will our lives look like?
Again, I said, I think the question in itself is flawed because of my definition of religion. Like I said, my definition of religion is living out what you believe. So to think of a world where there's no religion means humanity have stopped believing in anything and everything completely, which I think is impossible. But if you ask me specifically about one particular religion, what the world would look like without Christianity, I think there's so much that Christianity encompasses. There's so much, not just moral standarding that Christianity has taught the world, like love thy neighbor as you love thyself. And again, Christ told us that your neighbor is not just the person living next to you. Your neighbor is anyone and everyone who is in need. Or things like esteem others higher than yourself, so that when ukikuwa in an environment, just think of yourself, think of how you are supposed to live with other people, hospitality, loving others, those kind of moral standards. And then not just the morality part of it, but also the hope part of it. I think the world would become very bleak. There'll be no rain on evil, and then there'll be no hope for being good. So what does that leave people? Anarchy. So I think either people will go into other religions to try and find that, and they'll have to revamp particular religions to be able to encompass parts of Christianity that weren't there, or it will be in anarchy. The world will be in anarchy. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, because a religion and spirituality, as much as we want to say I don't practice the other or what, they really do go hand in hand.
Yes.
So even if you want to be agnostic and say you don't believe in anything, at the end of the day you hope, you want to like pray, you know, and say in a bad situation you want to hope for good.
Yeah.
You know, you want to what is it called? Aspire for good. And that's where spirituality comes in. Spirituality is our eyes through what we cannot see. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, that's how we channel what the unseen.
Yeah.
You know, the battles of depression, anxiety, we battle them through spirituality. So you can imagine now a human being that is
disconnected.
Yeah, and you fall into anxiety because you have no hope for the future. You fall into depression because you have fear of the past, and the past is looming over you, you know. So I don't think we can live without spirituality or religion, because something else now, as human is to err, religion is also used to control us. So those in power will also want to use. The correlation between kings and religions, it goes far beyond, like, there's no time when people used to just live like there was nothing religious, nothing, even in, like, I don't know, I don't have a timeline, but let's say hunter-gatherer stage, people used to do sacrifices to yeah, so it's literally part of being a human being. You have to connect with your.
So a question I can ask, is Christianity our identity?
No. Christianity is the identity of a Christian.
Or a Christian alone?
Yeah, we can't ask a Muslim the same question, an Indian the same question.
No, yeah.
Yeah, but and I think going from person to person, you can either make your religion your full identity, and be so pro your religion to a fault where you become now a religious terrorist, a religious bigot. What is it called? Like you're just persecuting people left, right, and center, because of religious spirituality, and I think that's a problem when your religion actually becomes your identity.
Yeah.
I feel like what personally I'm chasing in life is ultimate balance, whereby you can feed your spirituality, you can feed your intellect, you can have conversations with people you have different ideas with, and maybe come to a conclusion or just agree to disagree. So I think that's the healthiest way to take spirituality, religion, politics, anything. I think I can also pose the same question, like what happens when politics becomes your identity? It's a recipe for disaster, right?
So I think this now comes to an end of this episode. Before we end, do you have any parting shot to this episode?
Okay, I think one of the things that usually is a problem with, especially, I can only speak for Kenyans, but Africans also in general, is we judge the philosophy of Christianity off of the abuse by other humans. And I don't see it being done with other philosophies. I don't see us saying, let us throw away a government because there was bad politicians. We all need governance, in a sense. There has to be structure. So I think people should give Christianity a chance and religion in general a chance. Don't look at it. I don't see people saying I wouldn't be a Muslim because there's jihadists, because we know a jihadist is the extreme. It's the abuse of it. So I think that would be my parting shot. Do not judge the philosophy based off its abuse.
Nice.
Well, I think my parting shot would be, as a non-Christian, I feel like what I'd tell my peers is just question everything. Whatever the world we are living in right now, just question everything. Just question everything. And I think that even God, like if you're pursuing things for a good purpose, at the end of the day, you will always end up in the right place.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's religion, whether it's politics. Always have your own belief, not what the crowd thinks. And I feel like maybe I don't want to start a generational feud, but I feel like the latter generations, it was literally a crowd mentality. There was no room for individual thought. When you go to school, you learn theory. Everybody is a Christian. So where is the separation of church and
Your parting shot is a whole.
It's okay.
I question everything.
Press conference. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for making an appearance at Podtel Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
So personally, I've learned a lot. As I told you with Conrad after the people who I can host, is I don't know much about this topic. That's why I'm also a listener. I'm also sijachangia sana. I've given my knowledge, my small knowledge about this. So I think to our audience, you've learned something on this episode. And I think we can have a part 2 on this. It's a very broad.
And also I feel like there's so much we can talk about, not just religion. I feel like there's so much going on in the world, and we have some contradicting views and some...
We agree on some things, guys.
We agree on some things.
That's nice. So I think, I think we can now end. Thank you. If you have any questions, pale kwa comments, mtatuuliza. Alafu, thank you so much Tito Creation pale background on the photography and videography. Also Leon, our social media manager, our audience pale. We thank you for listening.
Yes.
And we have merchandise. I've won one today. We have hoodies going for 2,700, t-shirts going for 1,200, capes 500, wristbands goes for 150. So if you'll want one, we have our website. We are creating a website, by the way. where you can find them and purchase them for a greater cause for Portal Podcast. So thank you so much, and this is our 100th episode.
Yay!
Thank you for making history. I think you'll remember this episode for the rest of your lives.
Yes, yeah.
I hope so, because this is a 100th episode. Congratulations to the team, to me personally for putting everything up. Thank you. And yeah, so see you on the next episode. Bye.